I bring news. Link's Awakening is being remade on the Switch.
Yeah, I know. We watched the Nintendo Direct together?
Oh yeah.
Today we're going to discuss none other than Link's Awakening on the Game Boy.
Oh yes.
The best of the Zelda games.
Well, that's what I personally think. I think, is that a unanimous thing? Are we all saying it's the best Zelda game?
I mean, it's not Minish Cap, but you know.
So,
We know this one's getting a remake.
yes, it is on the
September?
Switch.
Yep.
I'm in two minds about it.
Do you think it's necessary?
Well, that's the whole reason we're here, I think, is to discuss whether or not it needs a remake. So I think if we start with the original, would you like to read us the back of the box, Evans?
It looks like it's got an essay on the back of the box.
And this is your original copy?
Oh my god, yeah, this is the one I had when I was a kid. Legend of Zelda: A Link's Awakening, a Game Boy fantasy adventure like no other. Nintendo's fantasy adventure hero, Link of Hyrule, returns in this new epic quest, Link's Awakening. Link's newest challenge is set on the mysterious Koholint Island, a place where dreams and reality collide. As a castaway, Link must find a way to escape from the island and return to his beloved homeland of Hyrule. But it won't be easy. It won't be as easy as chartering a boat. The island's inhabitants have no knowledge of the outside world. One creature, a talking owl, may know the solution to Link's dilemma, but first Link must tackle 8 dungeons full of treacherous monsters and tricky traps. His goal? Find the 8 instruments of the sirens and awaken the omnipotent windfish which rules the island. Link will battle new enemies and make new friends in one of the most in-depth fantasy adventures for the Game Boy yet.
Sounds pretty epic for a handheld game.
Sounds pretty casual, not like anything you would see on the back of a box these days. I took a peek at this one earlier and it reads nothing like it. In fact, this one starts with, "You are Link, the hero of the N64 classic, The Ocarina of Time." Not even stand on its own 2 feet.
Well, that's
That's wrong.
I mean, that says everything you need to know
Hyrule
right there.
Historia wasn't around at this point, so.
But yeah, just reading the back of that box, you know, it's like so ambitious for a handheld game. Like, I think the other Game Boy game I had at the time was like Dr. Mario. So like, picking this up and actually just reading about it and just hearing how it's, you know, got 8 dungeons and like there's a whole island full of all these colourful characters and things.
You say you picked up this one first?
Well, yeah, I
DX.
mean, I grew up playing that one,
Yeah.
but I didn't have a Game Boy Color when I got it, so I still played it in black and white. So.
Had you played any of the previous Zeldas prior to
No,
it?
this is actually my first ever Zelda game, which is pretty interesting. I think that's why I kind of have more nostalgia for that than I do like the Ocarina of Time, like everybody else seems to have.
For me, it was after I played Ocarina of Time and finished that, then it was a case of just trying to just play any of the previous Zelda games that I could get my hands on.
See, so this was targeted at you then.
Well,
You read those words, the hero of the N64
yeah, but it wasn't that
classic.
one I bought. I still bought the black and white one because DX wasn't out at the time.
But I think that's what makes the game so special, is that like it was created for the Game Boy, but you know, it's equally as good, if not better, than like A Link to the Past.
Oh,
It's just
yeah,
a
yeah.
massive technical achievement.
I mean, the main reason I think it's better than Link to the Past is because it's so much, it's on such a smaller scale, everything is a lot more focused. Where you've got the smaller world, I mean, Link to the Past, I have, so many times when I've played that game in the past, I'll save my game, go away for a couple of days, come back, and I peer back on in the dark world on top of the pyramid.
Yep,
And I'm just like, where was I going? I look at the map and it's like, this isn't helping, can't remember what I was doing. None of that in this game because it's small enough that you will never forget what you were doing. And again, where everything's so like unique and interesting, it's really difficult to forget what you last did. But it's large enough that you're not going to get bored doing it. You're not going to think, oh, this is too easy.
Because they've got those teleporters all over the island as well, so it's really easy to get back straight into where you left off.
But also the way everything was connected as well, it almost felt like it had a bit of a Metroidvania-ish feel to it compared to the previous Zelda games as well.
Another thing I love about the game, it's just like the continued adventures of Link after the events of A Link to the Past.
And not only is it the continued adventures of Link, it's the continued adventures of Link without reusing the same characters from everything else.
Yes.
Yeah,
like they
yeah.
do these days.
Yeah,
You know, it was him getting almost like his own spin-off away from Hyrule. Even though it was a sequel, it was like, you know, this sort of side story adventure that just ended up being as big, or if not bigger, than Link to the Past.
Yeah,
So.
it's just nice having this story that's disconnected from Hyrule. You know, it's set on this like strange island that he wakes up on and encounters all these strange characters. Like you've got like a crocodile who's got a bunch of bananas. I remember you got the monkeys who build the bridge.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Characters from other Nintendo games like Kirby, Goombas, Piranha Plants.
Anti-Kirby.
Yeah, what is it? Yeah, anti-Kirby. Wart from Mario Brothers 2.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff, it's like, they just weren't taking it as seriously as they take Zelda nowadays.
One of my favourite characters is in the Animal Village, you've got the goat who sends the letter to Mr. Right.
Yeah.
She's like catfishing Mr. Right because she sends the photo. Dr. Wright's like, oh yeah, I really want a picture of her and you go and deliver it. And she sent a picture of Princess Peach, and Dr. Wright's like, oh, my Christine's so beautiful.
Dr. Wright from SimCity.
Yeah, Dr. Wright from SimCity.
Yeah.
Of all
Another
the
cameo.
people, yeah. So weird, like, because obviously Dr. Wright is based on Will Wright, who created SimCity, and then somehow made it into Zelda.
Yeah,
Now he's in
Will
Zelda,
Wright's in
yeah.
Zelda game, lucky him.
And
No one can say that.
and he's in, and they reused him again in Minish Cap as well. So.
In Smash Brothers, gosh, that guy gets around, doesn't he?
I mean, the game wasn't like officially greenlit by Nintendo originally.
Until it was nearly done.
It was like you kind of had people at Nintendo just sort of working late after hours, sort of programming this game without sort of any permission.
Well, it was to test the limits of the Game Boy, wasn't it?
Yeah,
What
yeah,
could do
they were
with
just kind of
other
playing
things.
around on Game Boy dev kits and just sort of seeing how they could push the system. And I guess that's probably part of the reason why those characters from other Nintendo games sort of made it in there. They just probably had them as like placeholder graphics. You've got like the 2D platforming sections, and you've literally just got Goombas there.
Yeah.
Like that's another whole element that this game brought to Zelda, is those kind of 2D side-scrolling platforming little bits that you had.
Adventure of Link.
I suppose, yeah.
I guess in terms of like a traditional Zelda game suddenly switching to that.
Yeah.
I mean, you kind of, the closest thing you had, obviously not counting Adventure of Link being fully 2D, but in the original Legend of Zelda, you had those sort of 2D bits where the items were kept.
Yeah.
And it's almost like maybe they saw that and they kind of wanted to expand that into something bigger.
Yeah.
Of course, then you got like a whole boss fight, which is side-scrolling as well.
I think Takeshi Tezuka said that they were kind of trying to make a parody of Zelda almost. So like, yeah, them including those enemies from other Nintendo games is just all part of the fun, I think. And
It's just like a big passion project, really. Like,
yeah. The thing, Miyamoto didn't really know about its creation for quite a while, I reckon, until he saw.
God, he would have shut that down.
Yeah. I think a lot of the unused ideas from A Link to the Past that Tezuka had worked on, he incorporated them into this game because I know Miyamoto wasn't like a fan of the idea of using arrows in conjunction with bombs and things.
It was because he said that he wanted the hero to always be carrying his sword, which is why he wasn't so keen on allowing in Link to the Past you to have the 2 buttons to bind things to, because then you could de-equip your sword. So he was like, oh, he's always going to have the sword.
I'm sure there would have been a workaround. There are plenty of buttons on the SNES controller.
Yeah, and obviously on the Game Boy you've only got the 2. I was actually, when I was watching the footage for the remake, I saw that you've always got the sword equipped and you've got your buttons for everything else.
Oh, yeah.
And I'll tell you, actually, after playing the original one so much, that's kind of a quality of life change I can get on board with.
Yeah.
You need to change your items probably like 10 times. It's like, I need a bomb to blow up this pig. Now I need to run, and now I need to kill some enemies with a sword, so switch out. Now I need the power bracelet to lift up some rocks. Oh, now I need Rock's Feather to jump over a pit. Oh, and I need the Pegasus Boots to jump over a long pit. It's like, oh, this is a nightmare.
That is probably like the only one criticism you could have against this game. But you know, they couldn't really have done anything else. 'Cause,
Menuing's a beast in it.
And then you look at Breath of the Wild, where the whole game you've basically not got a sword for a lot of it.
So one thing I really like about the game is just like its structure, because it's like, it's smaller in scope, it's kind of set on an island instead of a big kingdom like Hyrule, but it's perfect for a Game Boy game. It's not absolutely huge, but it's got lots of memorable locations sort of within the confines of this small island.
When you look at like the map, it's all split up in a really nice, satisfying way, where it's like, this is the desert.
Yeah. Here's the giant egg on the top.
Yeah.
Just the whole structure of the game, like having the 8 dungeons and the way you acquire the items. Like, what was it, the first item you acquire is the Rock's Feather?
From the first dungeon.
From the first dungeon, yeah. Jumping in a Zelda game, obviously without referencing The Adventure of Link. I think that was pretty unique from a top-down point of view perspective.
Yeah, the feather was a big difference.
Because you could use the Pegasus boots in conjunction with the rocks feather to get like the really long jumps.
Yep. Well, that's it. All these combinations of items, as I say, using the 2 buttons, like to combine them. The bomb arrows were another good one you could do. Pegasus boots with the sword would obviously give you the running attack, and if you didn't have the sword equipped, because it wasn't always equipped, you wouldn't do that. You'd do something else instead.
Yeah, it was always good fun.
Yeah, being able to use the Pegasus boots and then bomb arrow was always really fun.
Just to look at the game as well, like, for an 8-bit game, I think if you took the sprites from the original NES game and compared them to the sprites in Link's Awakening, there's a night and day difference with the quality. You could even argue that the character sprites in Link's Awakening look better than the ones in A Link to the Past.
I prefer the style of the ones in Link's Awakening.
I think they have that style where it's kind of like everyone's got like the big kind of chibi eyes, and everything's like cutesified, and I think that kind of has aged better than the sprites on the SNES in a way. They're only like a few pixels tall, but they're still so expressive.
Yeah, that's the main thing. They really put all into making them expressive, whereas I feel the SNES one, given the advantage of being able to work with like so many extra colours and so much extra size, you lose like small discrete detail on it.
It's like when Marin's singing, she's got like her hands up like this, and she's like, it's like it captures so much about her character in such a small, amount of pixels.
It's just so simple that you can't lose anything to the overcomplications of like the design.
It's kind of like, because the sprites are so small and limited, it's almost like they're forced to be more expressive to kind of convey what's going on, so that kind of works to its advantage.
You can tell that they really put their all into this, because as I was playing it through last time, the game lags horrifically in some areas. Taking Bow Wow into the trendy game, the game probably chugs to like half speed.
Yeah, that music slow down and all sorts.
And just the visuals slow down as well, and then all the sprites are flashing because they're struggling to all stay on screen.
Music.
The music's excellent.
Yeah.
I have a huge love of Game Boy music.
Yeah.
And old music with not too many channels. When you make the most of something like 4 channels of sound or similar on like these old consoles. It's probably my favourite genre of music. I can't get enough of it. And music in Link's Awakening is fantastic. It's for what it is, it's so emotional as well.
Yeah.
Ballad of the Windfish.
Ballad of the Windfish.
Especially during the ending as well, when everything's disappearing, like the island's fading away.
I swear, I've not heard a decent cover version of Ballad of the Windfish.
We went to that Zelda concert, didn't we? And they did play a live orchestral version of that, and it was just like, I don't know, just
sort of lacked that.
That's what I'm dreading about this. Like, I don't know if you're going to get the same sound from this. I'm sure the music's going to be great. I'm sure they're going to do a good job with it.
It wouldn't surprise me if they had like an option to change to the original 8-bit music or something like that. We're talking about these versions for now.
Yeah, I know. These ones are great. That's what I'm saying. These ones are so good. The music's so fantastic and perfect in these games.
And you got one of the best versions of the Zelda overworld theme, I think, is in that, and they reused that in Oracles as well, which was good.
Everything's so hummable and memorable in this. Like, you play the game and then the music's just stuck in your head for ages. You just find yourself humming it, and you can remember every track so distinctly.
There's quite a lot of tracks as well. Like, I think when you walk into buildings and things, it doesn't just reuse the same generic indoor tune or anything.
No, loads of them are different. I think of the phone boxes, and I think Grandpa Urariwa's house has got like that dun 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 dun, which you don't hear in any other buildings.
Across the whole board, music is excellent. So many tracks, they're all memorable.
All the dungeons have got great music. As I said, all the different areas of the
Telltale Heights.
Telltale classic, one of the best songs in the game. But so every area in the map, like the map's split up into a dozen areas, and they've all got different songs, which are all fantastic. And they all evoke emotion.
All the dungeons, they had a lot of unique tunes in them.
Yeah.
I think the bosses were quite memorable as well. Like, if they only rehashed a few of them, like you had Moldon from Link to the Past. But I believe, like I said, it's been a while since I played it, but I believe most of them are like original bosses, aren't they?
You've got Genie in the second one.
Yeah.
Who's Genie
Can we talk about the noise that the bosses make when you hit them? That noise.
That sounds great. All the dungeons had their mini bosses. I'm trying to think what ones are in there. You've got they're not the dongos, they've got the weird worm things that you feed bombs.
Yeah. They're just like,
you got that.
I don't know what they were.
That thing that's name I can't remember, but it's so cute. The weird little dog thing with the ball that throws at you and like squeaks like a really adorable puppy, and you throw it back and kill it, and you feel really bad for it.
Yeah.
And you've got that boxing guy. Looks a bit like Balrog.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
the recurring. Is it the dungeon that had the recurring boss fight as
Master
well?
Skeleton.
Yeah, that was the one.
You remember all these tiny details that I've kind of forgotten. I think it's because I've played every game in the series now. I owe it to myself just to go back and play it again because I've forgotten so much about it.
Every year I play this game at least once
Yeah.
because it's just so enjoyable to play.
Yeah.
And it's a short game. Zelda games are generally quite long, but
Well, if you know what you're doing, it is. I remember as a kid, it took me 8 months to beat the game. This was a time we had no internet or anything like that, and I remember getting stuck in the second dungeon. There was this one puzzle. It was a room where you had to kill the enemies in a specific order, and I don't think, because I was a stupid kid, I didn't pay attention to like the owl thing in the wall.
Oh, yeah.
the Stout Foster Pole's voice and the keys.
I was like, what am I doing wrong? And eventually I just did it randomly in the correct order. I was like, eureka, like a eureka moment. And
I'm pretty sure because the compass would make the room like do the little alert each time you're in there, and you're like, well, there's a chest in here somewhere.
Because I was stuck in that one room, I spent so many hours just exploring the rest of the island and obviously seeing these places I couldn't quite get to. But so once I made it past that moment, it just clicked with me, and I kind of like just blitzed through the rest of the game after that. But
One of the good things about that is regarding the design of the game in general, I like that there's not really any extraneous areas or buildings. When you go to Mabe Village, for instance, every building in that village has something that you will need to go and do at one point in the game. And another example of, I'm only going to mention this briefly, something about the new game, you got the trading quest in the original game, and you go and get the Yoshi doll from the trendy game, and then you explore Mabe Village naturally, and then you go into the house of the woman with the quadruplets, and she's got a baby in her hand, and she's like, oh, Yoshi doll, give it to me, I'll give you a bow. I did notice in the treehouse footage of the new one, you go and play that trendy game, as soon as you go there, a kid outside's like, oh, a Yoshi doll, my mum wants the Yoshi doll, oh, she really would love one of those Yoshi dolls, and you're like, I didn't need to be told that, you can just leave me to explore, because, as I said, it's not like other Zelda games where you'll go into like a town and there'll be loads of buildings where there's just like some person you go and speak to and it's a bit of extra flavour. In this, every building is necessary to
every
go to.
every NPC, every sign you read, all contributes to you progressing through the game.
Everything in the game is there for a reason, and it all helps you get through the game.
And it's all written in like a really cute, quirky way. Remember when you speak to that tiny chain chomp in the side room and she's like, jewelry, makeup, I want it all. It's like, what the fuck? Like, just so bizarre and strange.
It's great. All the characters are real characters. When you go to Telltale Heights, you know Papal, the father.
Oh, yeah.
You meet him later on, and he's part of the trading quest because he's like starving on the mountain.
That's
He's like, oh, I'm
right,
dying
yeah.
of starvation. Give me a pineapple. But if you go there earlier in the game, before you're meant to do that, and before you're meant to be in the mountains, I can't remember his exact dialogue, but it's something along
It's
the
a really,
lines
like,
of...
No, he
fourth wall
says
breaking.
like, you'll see me lost later in the game,
Yeah,
or something
you'll
like
see me
that.
lost in the mountains later. It's like, okay.
That thing is so tongue-in-cheek, but it makes sense in the context of the game because, right, spoilers for, you know, a 20-year-old game or whatever, but there's a big revelation where you find out that the world you've been exploring isn't real, and it's really just the dream of the windfish. You know, again, that's quite like a big concept for, again, such a small game.
It's also nice that it's not like you are saving the world from a great evil. This is a much smaller
no.
scope story.
That's the thing, it's like it's like as you're playing through the game, you start to get like, it's like when you beat the bosses, they start sort of talking to you, telling you that things aren't quite as it seems.
Yeah.
And then you sort of realise, you know, maybe that the bad guys that you're fighting, they're not just being mean for the sake of it, they're trying to protect themselves from you waking up the windfish.
When you go to... If I remember correctly, I haven't done this in the replay I'm doing, but when you go to the Face Shrine, the 6th dungeon, to get there you have to go to like another little sub-shrine.
Yeah,
And it
that's
tells
got
you like the little history.
got the mural, yeah.
The mural telling you about how this island's a dream of the windfish and all this, and it's like, that properly tells you, yes.
Again, that's just
hang on,
another
what's
cool
going
way
on.
to explore the narrative, the story, because it's the first time you see something up close as well. It's like quite cinematic. There's a few really good cinematic beats in the story as well, like
Definitely.
like when you talk to Marin on the beach and things. Like that's quite a beautiful little scene for such
It's like a cutscene before cutscenes.
yeah.
I was going to say, it's like the first time where you playing as Link actually get to sort of have like a close moment with a character, which hadn't really been done in the Zelda series until then.
Like she's talking at you and it's like, I want to know all about you, Link. And you're just there silent, like, oh, we should go to the animal village. Yes.
It's not like in Skyward Sword where it's like a fucking 2-hour wall of text that you're forced to just endure. And it's like these nice little story beats that are kind of like rewards for beating a dungeon.
Yeah,
They're just
yeah.
nicely paced throughout the adventure. It doesn't just constantly hold you back.
I felt more sad and emotional for Marion when the island was disappearing and she had her dream of wanting to become a seagull and leave the island than I did for so many people in Skyward Sword. Like all that forcing me to try and care about these characters.
Yeah,
and it's like,
yeah.
I don't care, I'm getting bored, let me play the game. And then Link's Awakening is just like one little 1 minute long cutscene where she's like, oh, I want to be a seagull and I want to go and explore outside the island. What do you think's out there? I'm like tearing up when the ending's there and everyone's disappearing.
Yeah, there's a right way and a wrong way to do it.
Maybe we should start talking about this one now, and the changes that they made. Like I said, this is the only version of the game I've played, never played the original. But yeah, they added a bunch of features. You want to go over those, Harley?
Yeah, so, I mean, obviously the main thing is that it's now in glorious colour.
So many colours.
Tell the people, look at the camera.
So many colours.
So much. So many things to think about. So you've got colour, you've got Game Boy Color.
Do your best Rick Mail impression.
Rick Mail only did original.
Zelda Link's Awakening from Nintendo.
So you've got, I mean, there's so many things. So you've got color.
Just to say sure, in case this didn't make it obvious.
So in the original, it was black and white, whereas in this one, it's actually got color. So.
Have you actually forgotten all the other editions?
No.
Okay.
So you've obviously got the extra dungeon, which is called the Color Dungeon.
Not the DX dungeon.
You've got the photography side quest. That was another big thing, which was kind of like, it wasn't quite the same as like an achievement system, but it was kind of rewarding you for going out of your way to go and do things to just basically get cool pictures. Which again, being like drawn on the Game Boy, you got these like cool little chibi, little just Link getting up to no good shenanigans.
It blended well with the pre-established kind of cutesy nature of the game.
I suppose some of them make you do really silly because it's not like
There are some
achievements.
missable ones.
Yeah, because there's one of them's to do with Richard's Castle, isn't it? Something to do with that, I think. I can't remember how to get them all. One of them involves, don't you have to jump down the well with Marion and she lands on you?
Yeah.
that's one
She
that's
lands
missable.
on top of Link. Yeah.
I swear
You
there's
obviously
another one as well.
you had the one where you stole from the shop.
Yep, that's missable, but at least you can get it any time.
Yeah.
I like how stealing from the shop has this knock-on effect throughout the whole game, where once you steal from the shop, you go back in. Well, no, as soon as you steal from the shop, the game's like, oh, I hope you feel good for yourself, you thief. And then everybody in the game from then on refers to you as thief, no matter what
you
your save
lose
game
your
is.
name, yeah.
But it requires you to do that for the photo. It's like, I don't want to ruin my file.
Because I remember doing that thief thing without anyone telling me, and just like, that's so great. That's not even hinted at all in the game.
Well, that's the thing, because you weren't just picking an item from a menu and automatically paying for it. You had to pick it up, walk over to the counter, and I think everyone at some point thought, what if I just walk straight out the door?
And this is the thing, that goes on with the game being really intuitive as to like, everything's there for a reason. You try and walk out the door and the shopkeeper's like, don't leave without paying.
Yeah.
And you're like, we'll see about that.
It just fucking kills you.
yeah.
Just thinking about the stealing from the shop thing, if you think about how a lot of modern RPGs now have this whole like morale system and things like that, I was thinking, hang on, Link's Awakening was kind of doing that first.
It's got the worst version of it as well, because it permanently affects you. You're called thief for the rest of the game.
I don't know, when you see that, you just want to start a new save file pretty
Yeah.
much.
Yeah, I mean, much like in real life, crime doesn't pay.
We should probably talk about that coloured dungeon.
Yep.
Like, it's a nice addition, but when you beat it, it does kind of break the game, like you said. with
Well,
the
that's it.
game.
It's giving you permanent buffs that the original game wasn't programmed to have in mind at all. So
It's kind of like
half damage or double attack.
It's like having a permanent acorn or piece of power. Like,
double attack every time, of course.
Yep. But yeah, I think one of the greatest strengths of the game is just how Miyamoto wasn't involved. Basically. I think we can all agree on that.
Are we ever gonna have a discussion video where we,
don't
say
shit
something nice about Miyamoto? It's fine. Miyamoto made Popeye, so you know.
His greatest
Give him some
achievement.
slack.
considering the fact that you get the sword all the time, it wouldn't surprise me if he just walked into the office and was like, sword all the time, and then just left. That was his input. It's like, you've always got to have the sword.
It's like, other than that thing we mentioned earlier about the swapping the items, there isn't really anything I would change in the game. Which brings us to our next point: does the game need a remake? Like, we'll do it. We'll go through one at a time. Start with Harley.
Right. Well, I think Link's Awakening is one of those
But
games.
wait, this is a game you were kind of hoping got remade, I believe, before it was announced.
I think it's kind of one of those things where I felt like it needed to. I think more people needed to play Link's Awakening.
For some reason, it's an obscure one, isn't it?
It seems that way, yeah. I mean, I think the problem is it was sandwiched in between Link to the Past and Ocarina of Time, which are two of the main sort of Zelda games. Even sequels later on will always reference those games.
Well, those ones are the two big nostalgia bait ones.
Yeah, yeah.
And they're console, not piddly handheld.
So it's like having a candle there in between two giant spotlights, and you're constantly being blinded and you can't see. I probably should have finished that sentence. You can't see.
That's it. You can't see it.
If you don't play Link's Awakening, you can't see.
Open your eyes, people.
Wake up, sheeple. It's nice that Nintendo are going to now have Link's Awakening back out as a main release for more people to play again. They'll get to experience the island, they'll get to experience the adventure. At the same time, they did release it on the 3DS as a virtual console game.
If Nintendo weren't quite so eager to drain every penny they can from you buying 20 releases of the same game on every digital possible platform they can put it out on, I would hope that this new one would have the ability to play the originals built in. That'd be nice, wouldn't it?
If you went to a house that had a Game Boy in it.
Yeah, Animal Crossing did it.
There was a time, when Animal Crossing would let you play 24 NES games over, but
Then Nintendo realised what the internet was and were like, oh, we can charge for these.
It's almost a better virtual console than what the Switch
Patch 'em
offers.
out. I don't need a remake to this game, but I am not the general public. And I understand from interacting with people on a daily basis that people will look at this and be like, oh, that looks awful. What is this oldie time rubbish? And if you gave them that game and you put this in front of their hands and went, play, they'd be like, this looks awful. And they might play it for a couple of minutes, laugh, and hand it back to you.
That's like a baby's toy.
baby's toy.
Nintendo have been really successful in releasing all manner of games made from all different crafty materials, and Zelda's the next one to get that treatment. We've had Yoshi made of wool, we've had Kirby made of paint and crayons, and now we've got Link made of those weird little
it's worth bringing
bobbly
up
wooden peg toys.
The art style they're going with.
Yeah, so it's not for me. I don't think it needs to be remade, but I understand that for people to play it, it does have to be remade. So I think it's a good thing for the series and all. Some people are going to play it and go back to this one, which is the greatest thing, in my opinion, that it can be doing.
I think when people buy this remake, like, the reason the game is as good as it is because you have that context that it was a Game Boy game, and that kind of makes you appreciate it way more. When you suddenly take that and you stick it on a Switch that is capable of playing Breath of the Wild,
Yep.
modern day gamers are just, I don't know, like, if you've never played the game before, this game's been hyped up so much that you're going to be so disappointed with it that it's like, well, no matter how much you read, like, if it was a Breath of the Wild scope remake, then yes, I would think a remake like that would have been worth it.
That was always something that I always imagined, like, if you could, see the windfish's egg in the distance and just see the whole scope of the island.
Yeah. I mean, because that's the thing, you've got, like, two fully 3D Zelda games on the fucking 3DS, like with the remakes of the Ocarina of Majora.
Yep.
But it's like so limited on scope, this remake, that they might as well have just ported the original Game Boy game anyway, because it doesn't look like it's really adding anything new to it. It's still top-down perspective. The only main difference is that it's, instead of being screen-based, the camera follows you around. But I think, like you said earlier, it's just going to make the game feel smaller.
I watched this one, and just leaving Marin's house in Maid Village and walking to the beach took like 20 seconds. And not only that, where it's not like screen based anymore, you can see past like all the trees below you and above you, and it makes the world look so tiny. Like exploring the world.
It doesn't look like they're redesigning the areas to facilitate a bigger resolution screen.
Doesn't seem like it.
The only original part of the game that I've seen is this aspect of like creating your own dungeon.
Yeah, which I always felt like Link's Awakening definitely needed from that original release.
In my head, a re-envisioning of that game just lets me explore this island in a whole different perspective. That's what I wanted. this is not what I wanted. This is just
Yeah.
a cash-in for nostalgia, basically. It's a cheap, slap-together thing. Now, I know there's been a lot of backlash on the visual look to it, but I think I actually like
I think that's
the way
one of
it
the
looks.
better things. It almost looks like it's staying true to if you literally redrew those original sprites.
They're keeping the proportions.
Yeah, like keeping how those sprites look, but just got rid of the Game Boy screen limitations, then you would have...
Well, it's like,
that.
because Tezuka, who's directing, he did the crafted world stuff, didn't he?
Yeah.
Like, he loves, real world materials and things. And
Makes sense now you said that. That's why I got that
Yeah,
huge
yeah.
feeling.
So, because
from it.
everyone's been saying that it looks like toys, but I it's got a unique visual style to it, which is the one reason I will play it when it comes out, because that is at least different. That's something that is a reason to revisit the game, but again, I just don't really think it needed to be done.
When I first saw it, I thought the style, again, it just looked like
I kind of trolled you because I remember when we were watching the direct and they had that amazing anime cutscene. It harkened back to like the design of this kind of Link and everything.
Like the coolest looking anime Link.
So I remember when Wind Waker was first spoiled. And
A lot of people were saying that when it first,
everyone
the
was
reactions
like,
were kind of
"Gosh,
the
what is
same.
this kiddie shit?" And then it came out, and now it's a timeless classic because that style has not aged. Like it still as nice now as it was. This has grown on me a little bit since I looked at it at first. And
The
went,
amiibo is fucking adorable.
Yeah, the amiibo.
Oh, that's so bad.
Well, that's the thing, and that's one of the things. The amiibo looks exactly like this, and so you can tell because the amiibo is so nice looking. This obviously the style's appealing because we all like the amiibo. But yeah, it's grown on me a bit. It's the one thing making me want to play the game more than anything. That and just
I think it would have been way better if they'd made it a 3DS game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about how Link Between Worlds was,
Yeah.
I almost thought they were just going to use that same kind of 3D style and just do that. But
Yeah, well, because if it had been a 3DS game, your expectations wouldn't have been so high for a console Zelda experience.
All the hype at as I said, watching the Treehouse footage and seeing everybody talking like hush whispers about, oh, don't want to spoil this thing that's coming up. It's like, this game's 27 years old. Almost 26 years old.
20, oh my god.
Almost 27 years old. It's older than a lot of you who are out there.
we're getting that now with Final Fantasy VII Remake coming out.
Oh, yeah.
People are trying to not spoil
Yeah, that's
the events of that.
Yeah, at the end of disc one, something dramatic happens at the end of the story that you're not going to expect. It's really going to subvert your expectations in what happens in a video game story. It's like, no, everyone knows. It's a meme on the internet.
I think for everything we've seen though, it does just look like such a carbon copy. Like,
It's got nice tweaks to it, but nothing big. It's the same game, but they've just quality of life changed and graphical improvement changed.
The dungeon building gimmick.
but Dumpei's in it. Remember Dumpei?
Oh yeah, more shoehorn characters from.
From the N64 classic.
Yes, exactly. I'm sick of tired of them just, using all this fan service and just rehashing it. Even when it doesn't make sense in the timeline, it's like, oh, Beetle's here now, at the very beginning of the timeline. It's Danpei. Remember that Danpei character? He was the guy that you had to follow to get the...
Look here, Mike. If Link can be the far ancestor of a previous Link, then Dompe can be the ancestor of a far previous Dompe. And Beetle.
There's a whole lineage of Danpeis.
The entirety of Hyrule is just like one family constantly having identical kids.
And I really fucking hate that Tingle guy. Like, fucking hell.
What a useless character. I
cunt.
hope he's not in this one.
Actually, hold You look a little bit like Tingle.
I have no idea what you're talking about. I don't know why this Tingle slander. I sit here. My favourite character, who's obviously not going to be in this shit.
No, but if he was in the game, I'd be pissed off because again, it's just one of those things.
Yeah,
it's
he's...
the reason the game is special and unique is because it didn't have any of that fucking shit. It was all just original. Well,
Cut to pictures of Mario, Luigi,
yeah, but
Wart,
like
Goombas, Kirby's.
they're not going to do that in any other Zelda game.
No, I know, yeah, that's different.
That's the thing I was going to bring up, that it's just so interesting how, even though some people, like someone on some clever clogs on the internet could argue, oh, but you were praising Wart being in the game earlier, and it's kind of like the whole different approach between having like Nintendo just like celebrating things that they love, putting into a passion project that wasn't even going to make money at the time, and compare that to a remake where they feel like they need to start shoehorning in Zelda characters and then show them off in the trailers as if that's now gonna make people think, oh, this is more Zelda than what it was before. As if they would have been scared away if it wasn't.
What are the odds that we're going to see the Happy Mask salesman in there somewhere?
mean, let's not forget Link Between Worlds had a Majora's Mask in Link's house for no reason.
No reason, just fucking hanging on the wall.
Just so that people could go, YouTube videos with the thumbnails, 10 things that you may have missed about Link Between
10
Worlds.
hidden Easter eggs.
Giant circle with an arrow.
It's like, no, that mask is what made that game memorable.
Yeah.
Leave it in that game.
Now it's just everywhere. Lunch boxes, cereal boxes.
Yeah, I just hate that fan service shit. And now they're dragging it into my favourite games.
Hopefully we're not seeing much of it. The dungeon making mode is it's a fun addition to the game. I like the idea of it, so having it in here is fine, and I really hope you can share it with people online.
I'm hoping that's the reason they've done it, so that there'll be almost like a Mario Maker community aspect to it.
Like I said, where we're in the age of Mario Maker, it's kind of natural. I think it looks lacking a bit, but we'll see what you unlock.
But then that's the only new aspect to this remake, and it's just something that doesn't really appeal to me.
That's fine considering what this game's meant to be. I don't want a load of new features in it. I want this refined.
Who is this game for? It's for people who are too shallow or too lazy to play the original.
I wouldn't say too lazy, because if you don't have a 3DS, how else are you going to play this? Other than emulating it.
Yeah, give me 5 seconds with that smartphone, I'll get Link's Awakening running on it.
But I do through official channels, Nintendo are never going to say, oh, you can play this, just go and emulate it, it's fine.
No, Nintendo are not going to...
I do feel that your earlier point is totally correct, that this, on a console that you've just had Breath of the Wild, and they're already hyping up Breath of the Wild 2, and it's like, I've done Breath of the Wild, I need another Zelda experience. You pick up this, you're going to be, especially if Breath of the Wild was one of your first games, this is going to disappoint you.
That's the thing, I'm worried that this is going to be... People are going to look at this as what Triforce Heroes was on the 3DS, because that had trailers coming out for it while they were teasing the original Breath of the Wild.
But at least that's not a remake of a beloved classic.
But people aren't going to care about that history. They're going to, someone who isn't so clued up as Zelda might just look at this as how we look at Triforce Heroes.
My main issue with this existing is that, whenever people now who are going to talk about Link's Awakening are going to think about this game, not like this technological masterpiece that was made for an 8-bit system, that was a literal labour of love. Mm-hmm. It's just going to be this shiny, glossied up version of the game that, it's just a copycat. It's a bit of a shame, really.
I think the bottom line is it just deserves a better remake. It deserves to stand... In the same way that original Link to the Past and Link's Awakenings both, stood next to each other as comparable games.
Yeah.
A Link's Awakening remake should be standing next to the previous big Zelda being Breath of the Wild. You should have something of that amazing scope in a perfect world.
They should have just made Koholint Island as DLC for Breath of the Wild.
That would be great.
That would have been really...
I love that.
I guess they did something... There's a part of Breath of the Wild that is like that, isn't there? Where you're on that island.
You have to survive for, is it 3 days or something like that?
It's survive until you've got to get the balls.
Oh, that was it. It's yeah.
Yeah, I don't think there's really anything else we need to say, is there?
Yes, there is. If you're interested in this, don't buy it until you've played these.
Please.
Because these...
I don't think we can really
these should be
gatekeep
your
a remake.
No, we're not gatekeeping. We're saying these should be your point of comparison to how good this is. You shouldn't buy this because you like Breath of the Wild. You should buy this because you love these games. And if you don't love these games, play them and you will love these games.
If you don't love these games, you're not really going to love this game, I feel. Unless you're just that shallow and that uppity about graphics.
Well, lots of people are these days. Can't look past.
But the graphics are amazing in these games.
Mm-hmm. They're amazing for what they are. That's the thing. In the grand scheme of things, you say these are amazing, and then someone holds up.
So this cutscene right here, where it pans over, you see Link on the beach, and then it just goes up, and you see the reveal of the egg. That was such an amazing thing for a Game Boy game. Whereas that same cutscene is going to translate into 3D, and it just won't mean anything.
We've seen that
cutscene
have already.
I've not really been following it.
When they did the reveal, I think the first thing we saw, if I remember correctly, was that we saw the nice anime cutscene that looks really nice, and then we saw Marion walking along the beach in the new style.
I would heavily suggest that you at least play the original before playing the remake.
They're available on the 3DS. I swear it's £4.
Yeah, and there are other ways you can play it.
I think it's one of those things where it's amazing looking Game Boy game versus average to maybe not so amazing looking Switch game.
Heavily stylized, that's what I'd say.
I mean, something like that will still age better than something like Witcher on Switch or something like that.
Yeah.
So at least it's got that going for it.
So there is the incentive to play it because of the new art style. if you played the original, it'll mean more to you. Like, definitely.
I think the main bottom line is, despite all the tough love we're giving the remake, I think we're all going to be pretty keen to get back to Koholint Island again.
That's the thing. We will all play it. We have not played it, so we're being a bit cynical, I suppose. But maybe you should open up that copy of Link's Awakening, Harley. See what's in there.
Yeah,
What, this one?
There's
sitting on the table.
Yeah.
Cool. It's
We got
an early copy.
It's an early pre-release copy. Oh my god, I can't wait for Hello Kitty Cruisers on the Switch. Wait, I didn't say I didn't want this.
I'm not touching it. Don't put it. Is it just like dead or? There are loads of them. You see them under here sometimes on like nice videos. What the fuck? So I literally like walked out into jellyfish. You dodged them all.